Alright, YouTube and Bethesda community. So today, guys, we got to talk about WhatCulture. You may not know who they are, and you may know who they are. I don't know. They have several channels on YouTube, their biggest one being just regular WhatCulture. But today, we are talking about WhatCulture Gaming and them bitching about Bethesda. A couple of days ago, WhatCulture Gaming uploaded a video titled, "Could Bethesda please stop killing some of their best games?" Now, by the title alone, you're going to think, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, but it's them bitching about Prey. And you wouldn't know by the title that they're just complaining about fucking Bethesda's review policy. So it's kind of a weird title. Like, they could have titled that a hell of a lot better. Now, if you don't know about Bethesda's review policy these days, they changed it in 2016. I'll put it on screen for you to read. Pause if you care to read it. But more or less, they send out review copies a day before the release of their games, and this has WhatCulture Gaming upset because they didn't get an early copy of Prey, and they can't handle it. Several times throughout the video, they contradict themselves. An example would be the fact that the video is titled, "Could Bethesda please stop killing their best games?" But a couple times throughout the video, they mention how unknown Prey is, so they contradict themselves right then and there with the beginning of the fucking video. But anyways, let's get into it.
I mean, it's weird to go back to an IP like that kind of doesn't really have any traction.
And to not really use it. They've actually they seem to have rewritten the entire... It's like it's set in a completely different universe, completely different narrative. There seems to be no link other than the name.
I think it's just thematically, but I've not played enough of the first Prey. I've only played the demo.
So right there near the beginning of their video, they're complaining how different Prey is from the original. How it's kind of weird that they would buy this, this property, this franchise, this IP, and make it completely different. But the guy on the right, sitting there agreeing with the dude on the left, hasn't even played. He says himself, "I've not played enough of the first Prey, I've only played the demo." What the fuck are you even bitching about, dude? You're mad because they didn't fucking go back to this demo that you played? How fucking stupid is that? And I'm not sure if they are aware, but Bethesda has a bit of a history of buying a game that was not originally theirs and making it completely different, for the better, in my opinion.
Because their assumption is, which is what Ubisoft go with, a lot of companies have started doing this, that blind faith purchases will go en masse. People will just trade off the name. It's why Assassin's Creed Unity was only given to people a day before release. Yeah. But it doesn't really work in Prey's case because it doesn't have the traction.
Yeah, that's true. So the idea is that they perhaps are slightly concerned that if they give out review copies to media outlets like us,
might say bad
weeks
things
in advance, if we say something bad about it, no one will buy it.
Couple things wrong with that clip right there. First off, they think that Bethesda's reason for the new review policy is that if people see early bad reviews for a game, they won't buy it. But they specifically say that if we give it a bad review, nobody will buy it. They are a very small channel. Their biggest they have a couple channels on YouTube. Their biggest channel, which is WhatCulture WWE, barely has over 1 million subscribers. Yes, 1 million subscribers is big, but there's retarded Minecraft players who have bigger channels than them. WhatCulture Gaming doesn't even have 500,000 subscribers. They don't have much influence. Again, there are fucking little kids' channels that have bigger influence than you.
Whereas they think, oh, well, if I just don't let anyone say anything until release day, people have bought it anyway.
Yeah.
But like you say, if no one knows what Prey is, then no one's going to have bought it in the first place. And they need this kind of coverage.
Yeah.
We don't do it.
Except that we don't really need you guys, because Bethesda does a good job of covering all of their games before release. They don't put a whole lot of games. There's not a lot of games that come out side by side really ever with Bethesda. It's usually months apart. So they can focus on that one game and hype it up. And they've been doing that with Prey over the past few months. When you look on Twitter and everything, that's kind of all they're really talking about, other than some tweaks and bugs and mods and shit for other games like Fallout and Skyrim. But for the most part, they only talk about Prey right now. And with a lot of their games before release, they upload clips all the time, trailers, gameplay, trailers. They do live streams and shit all the time before the game comes out. They cover the fuck out of this game. Just because WhatCulture Gaming hasn't kept up with everything Bethesda's been doing for Prey doesn't mean that Bethesda themselves is doing bad coverage of the game.
We wanted to trial this with Doom,
and
because Doom did well, that made them think that they can just do this with every future game. It doesn't work. Doom is this storied, historic, landmark franchise. Everyone's eyes were on Doom, regardless of how much you promote it beforehand. And obviously, the critical reviews are very positive for that, and it managed to take off anyway. But Dishonored 2, I don't know anybody that played that apart from us. A pretty wide social circle. I didn't see any posts about it on social media or anything.
What they're talking about right there is that Doom was the first game Bethesda tried this with the day before release review copies, and Doom was pretty well received. It sold well and all those things. And they're saying that Dishonored 2 did not have such success. It was not as well received. It didn't sell as well as Doom. And nobody's playing Dishonored 2 anymore. Now, if we look at Doom's sales figures, they've sold around about 3.2 million. Now, if we look at Dishonored 2's sales, they've sold about 2.3 million, which is about 900,000 less than Doom, which is a good amount, but really in the grand scheme of things is not that fucking different. And given that the game has only been out for about 6 months, it's pretty decent. They also go on at one point in the video and mention how Dishonored 2 didn't do as good as the first Dishonored, but if you look at just the first Dishonored sales figures, it equals about 4.3 million, so about 2 million more. But it's also a game that came out like about 5 years ago, and about 2 years ago got re-released on the modern consoles with all the DLC, which will obviously promote sales figures. So really, when you think about how long Dishonored's been out and it getting re-released, not a big deal.
But it's just like, it's just a weird sort of, you know, they've got a weird rule set in place at the minute, and it doesn't feel very fair to the consumer. Like, they're falling back on blind faith purchases and hype and pre-orders.
I'll tell you what's not fair to the consumer is the games you're looking forward to getting fucking spoiled for you. I did a video about Bethesda's review policy change last year, like October 2016 when it came out, and I said in that video that was the biggest flaw with the earlier advanced review copies is shit getting spoiled. Fallout 4 got spoiled for a lot of people, and nobody wants that anymore with Bethesda games. I don't want that with any game that I play. That's the problem with advanced copies is like YouTubers and other smaller people can get review copies and they'll spoil the shit because they get some kind of kick out of spoiling something very big and important to some people. It gives them some kind of thrill or whatever. And it happened with Fallout 4, which really sucks because Fallout 4 probably would have been a better game or a better story to me if I didn't know anything going into it. And really for the consumer, other than wanting to get to know about the game on release day, nothing's changed because they can just wait a little bit. Wait a week until after the game comes out for your people that you like to get reviews from to review the game and then decide. Nothing's really changed.
Then, that our job is to play these games preferably before they come out, so you can decide whether or not to buy it. That's what a game review site is about. Yeah.
They seem to think that because they review games, they're somehow deserving of a review copy, and that's just not how it works. They don't just send it out to anybody. Again, they're not even doing advanced copies anyway. You don't get your review until the day beforehand. So it's kind of weird that they think that they have this there's such a foothold in the gaming community. They're not that big of a channel. Again, they have almost 500,000, which is a lot of subscribers, but they're far from the biggest gaming site on YouTube. And I don't know why they think that they just have this grasp on the game review when it comes to YouTube. It's ridiculous.
We don't do it. Everyone always says in the comments, like, oh, you were sponsored to say this game is good. We don't get the nicest part about it is they send us a free copy of the game, which is very nice, but we would be reviewing these things anyway. And if they didn't send us a free copy, we'd buy our own. So that's that.
So that clip is from earlier in the video, and I forgot to put it where it's supposed to go, because I usually break down a video in order of whatever it is I want to talk about. But anyways, right there, they're talking about the nicest thing that comes from getting a review copy of the game is getting it free. They failed to mention that there would be one of the few people who, in the grand scheme of YouTube, there's probably a lot of people that get review copies, but in the amount of YouTube accounts there are, it's a small fraction of people. So there'll be one of these small fraction of people who has a review of the game on YouTube, so they get all the hits from when people are looking for a Prey review, or just a review of Prey, whatever the case may be, a discussion of Prey, all those things. They'll be one of the few people. So they failed to mention that not only do they get a free copy of the game, they also get a shit ton of money. They also say near the end of that clip that even if they didn't get the free copy of a game from somebody, that they would be willing to buy the game themselves and review it anyway, which kind of defeats the entire purpose of this video where they're bitching about not getting an advanced review copy. If they're willing to buy a game and review it, they would then have to wait till after release date to buy that said video game, which, again, defeats the entire purpose of this video. I don't know if they realize that. Anyways, guys, that's just all the parts of that video that I wanted to break down. To wrap it all up, to me, it just seems like they're pissed because they didn't get the one. They sound like a kid who just didn't get the game that he wanted or something like that, They're pissed off because they didn't get to review Prey early. Nobody else did anyway. Everybody has to wait to fucking play Prey or review it. It's not like they're being singled out. Everybody has to wait when it comes to Bethesda games. It's nothing new. This policy's been in place since October of last year. They had to do it with Dishonored 2. I don't know if they made a video bitching about it. For Dishonored 2, I wasn't watching them at the time. And as a consumer, which is a word they like to use a lot in the video, I don't really care about reviews. Yes, I do reviews on my channel, but it's not because I think people necessarily value my opinion. I just like to give my opinion on games. But they talk a lot in the video like they're the be-all, end-all when it comes to game reviews. If people don't get WhatCulture Gaming's review of this game, they will not buy it, Bethesda. You have to change your policy for us and us alone. And also, as a consumer, I'm somebody who despises spoilers when it comes to something I enjoy, movies or video games. So I'm glad that not everybody's getting their hands on this game early and everybody kind of has to wait. Plus, I got to play the demo, and that's the biggest thing here, is they're bitching that people aren't getting a proper review before the game comes out. But Bethesda, a week before release, dropped a free demo for everybody to try, the first hour of the game. And I even did a live stream of the game, like the Sunday before the game came out. That's the best review you can get, is a hands-on experience of the game. I don't need somebody else to tell me the game's good or bad. I can play the fucking demo and decide for myself. And to finally wrap up this video, and I said this in my coverage of the review policy last year when Bethesda announced it, the only people who are upset about no longer having advanced review copies are the people who would actually get them. The big YouTubers, the gaming sites, like WhatCulture Gaming, IGN even kind of complained about it last year. The people who would actually get the review copies are the only ones that are actually upset. When it comes to us casual, just fans, that just the people that play the games and buy them, I don't think that many people are out there. I don't think there's that many people out there that look for a review before they buy a game. I know I don't do it with movies or video games. Maybe I'm part of the minority. Maybe the majority looks for reviews. I just don't think that's the case. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts on this below in the comments. Are you somebody that looks for reviews before you buy a game? Do you kind of do your own research and decide whether you want to buy a game? Or do you just buy Bethesda games blindly because you're that much of a fan? Let me know all that stuff below. If you want to enjoy the video, guys, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Follow me on Twitter. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Till it comes to conclusions, all the things that we thought we were losing. I'm a ghost and you know this. That's why we broke up in the first place. 'Cause I want you to know